I wanted my children to see the best version of myself rather than those broken parts of me that made me feel worthless and made me feel like such a broken individual. You have to heal yourself first. And when you heal yourself, you heal your family. And like life is so much more harmonious. Nobody's looking for perfection. There's no such thing as a perfect person, but all you can do is just try your best.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Beauty in You podcast. I'm super excited for our guest today as I cannot wait for you guys to reconnect with her and learn more about her journey in motherhood and just rediscovering who you are. And the word human just pops in my head when I think about her. She's teaching us all as women how to be human and feel. She is the host of the up and coming podcast Mind Your Mama. Welcome to the Beauty in You podcast, Lauren. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm excited that you're here and I cannot wait for you to just share your story. I love watching you on social media. That's how we met, you guys. And I love what you're doing. You're definitely changing the game by showing us mamas and us women that we can be human in our journeys. And so, with that being said, just tell me a little bit about your rediscovery journey.
So, I grew up in a very dysfunctional household. It was a lot of yelling, there was physical and mental abuse. And I always grew up feeling like I wasn't worthy, like I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough. I needed other people's approval of me to prove my worth. And I started having children, and I just realized that I don't need anybody else's approval. I don't need anybody to make me feel a certain way. It's all about myself. I have three children, and my third child, I definitely feel like I had some postpartum depression. And with that came like this stigma, like, oh, well, I have to have these really severe thoughts, or I have to feel, this way or that way. But I didn't, but I just felt so alone in my journey. I felt I can't even describe it. It was like a darkness, even though I had two other babies, I had a loving husband, I had family, I had friends, but I felt so alone. And I never want anybody to feel that way in their whole journey of motherhood, which it doesn't just stem right from the moment you have give birth. It goes, your whole entire life you're a mom. And I wanted my children to see the best version of myself rather than those broken parts of me that made me feel worthless and made me feel like such a broken individual. So I've decided to start, going to therapy, and just talking about my journey has been very healing for me. And it's amazing how many other people will say, oh my gosh, like I feel that same way. Or I thought I was all alone in that. And I had these thoughts and I thought I was the worst mom. And it's really been a blessing that I had such a dark, heavy past, because from that darkness comes the light. And I truly believe that. So I want women to feel completely surrounded and supported and lifted, and like you're not alone in this motherhood journey or just in life in general.
It's crazy because a lot of your story is parallel to my story, especially as a mom. I was a young mom. I had my son at 21.
Mm-hmm.
And so while my friends were out learning who they are and partying and doing all the great things, I had this little person that truly depended on me. And I didn't really know how to be a mom. Like I just, me and my
Right.
now husband, we're like trying to figure it out. Like, what do we do? And I was doing all the things I thought I was supposed to be doing according to society, right? Whatever
Right.
society tells me being a mom looks like. And all of my dreams and aspirations, like I went to college for track and I had my son at 21. So you already know like that was done, that whole
Mm-hmm.
part of my dreams were put on pause. So yes, I went through the depression postpartum, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I was in a really crappy place and I didn't want to tell a lot of people about it because then, well, I'm the one that had him, right? So it's my fault and I'm his mom. So why do I feel this way? And am I selfish for still wanting to do all the things that I really, really, truly thought I would be doing right now. Like, am I wrong for that? And so I went through a lot of that. And then I went through the resentment, of my husband, because I'm like,
Oh,
you get to go do all the great things, and I'm here
mhm.
stressed the heck out.
Don't even get me started on husband resentment. Like, so when we first had our first child, he decided to quit his job and start his own business. I was 9 months pregnant. I was like, are you sure this is the best time for this? And while I supported him and I believed in him, I resented everything that came with that. I resented the long hours. I resented the fact that he would come home and have the audacity to say that he was tired, or, he would be able to go outside and mow the lawn with headphones on. And I'm like, well, can you teach me how to mow the lawn? Like, can you teach me how to do this? Like, and I just resented him so much. And it was so unhealthy. Like, I wasn't myself. I wasn't the best version of myself, and certainly not for him. I mean, we've gone through some dark times for sure.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
that the resentment is so real. And again, to your point of feeling like, well, I had these kids and you know, I have to put my life on pause for them. Like, yes, you do have to do those things, but nobody talks about that either. You just think it's like this, baby bliss, and people are going to come over and it's going to be easy and it's going to be whatever. And it's not. It's very, very different, and everybody's journey is different. And that's a big thing that I want to shine the light on for people.
Absolutely, because I think about there's two things that popped in my head. The first one was when we first had Trey. Oh my God. So Trey loved his mama. He still loved his mama, but he like, and I nursed, so he didn't want
Hmm.
daddy at all. And I just remember having this sleepless night, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
oh my God, he will not stop crying. Even with, I'm like, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
My husband's trying to comfort him. He don't want him. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. And then I had to change his diaper. And so like I go lay him down and I go to change his diaper. And when they poop and it's like it just
Oh,
like me and my husband still talk about that moment. That's how like I was done. I was like, you know what? I can't do this. And I literally was like, you have to take over. And I like walked away because it was just so much at that time. And for me, like, I was so determined to not go back home. I went to college in West Virginia, 10 hours away from my family, and I was determined to not go back home. So I don't have my mom. They're like, Mom, can you come over and give me a break?
right.
And then my husband's from DC, same thing. He's 7 hours away from his family. So we don't have his mom to say, hey, Mom, come over and help us out. So much stress, so much pressure. And yeah, it was great in the pregnant part because Trey was the easy pregnancy until delivery. It was a hard delivery, but easy pregnancy overall. It was just like I was pregnant and then my belly grew and it was like, boom, time to have him. So,
Oh,
but then, and it was like all the clothes and I loved the shoes and the outfits. And I was like,
oh
okay,
yeah.
fine, this is so cute. We're going to take all these pictures. And then that part happens and I'm like, okay, what is this? And I'm tired and I'm stressed and I have spit up on me and I still have to study because I'm going to school. And yeah, it
Mhm.
was just a really hard time. And yes, I think that it's important that we talk about, yes, now I love being a mom. I love my kids. They motivate me. But it's important to talk about the other side that it is very difficult. Our whole everything changes. Not only does our body change, our hormones, like
Yeah.
everything changes for us. And we don't often talk about how much care we need for ourselves before, during, and after pregnancy. Like we have to somehow, and throw in the mental health part in that, like get some
Hmm.
therapy in there to talk
Yeah.
to help us through this because it's such a big change that we go through.
Absolutely. I wish that we could normalize like after baby showers where people come over and they help clean your house. They help do the laundry. You can take a nap. You can take a shower, like
Mhm.
just those basic functions of day to day that you take for granted before you have kids. And
Yeah.
then they come in and you're like, whoa, this is not what I thought. Just
Mhm.
going to Wawa down the street from my house was like a big deal because I now have to pack up this tiny human and I have to do this. And there's so much that happens, like you said, to your body, to your mind. And I resented my husband for not knowing what that was like.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's not fair, but I did. And it was just not good. But
Even for me, it was like I pulled the you should know how I You should know.
Oh, yeah.
You should
And the
know.
mind reading, like, how do you
Yeah.
not
How
know
do you
what I'm
not
going
know?
through?
How do you not know I'm stressed? Like, how, and then in reality, it's like, well, shit, how would he know?
Right. Like,
You
how
know,
would he know,
how would he
honestly?
know?
And like, I'd know, I used to get so upset with him. And then we had our second child and they're 18 months apart. So I was just getting like into the norm or the swing of things and my body was bouncing back and all of those things. And then all of a sudden I found out I was pregnant again and I was excited, but I'm like, oh no, here we go again, like, I mean, I obviously wanted to have my child, but it was just a lot. And he was gone all the time. And I worked part-time and then I had to juggle working part-time. I'm a nurse. So I was taking call. I was, doing all of these things. And it was so stressful. And I had some deep, dark thoughts for a long time. Like, I'm not worthy of this. I'm not a good mom. My children would be better off without me. I am horrible, what I'm stupid. All of these things that came from my childhood and came
Mhm.
from my past came flooding back to me in a way that I was not prepared for at all. And it really made me feel again alone and like I was crazy for having these thoughts when I have two beautiful children. I have a loving husband, a nice home, but here I am like, there's something wrong with me and I don't like how I'm feeling. And those thoughts were transferring to my everyday life of taking care of these two tiny humans. And it just really wasn't fair to them. But then I didn't really do anything about it until I had my third child when I felt really, really low. And I just brushed it off like, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. My doctor says I have the baby blues, but I don't have postpartum and I'm fine. But I never dealt with any of those demons from before. I mean, pre children, I've never dealt with them. So you have to heal yourself first. And when you heal yourself, you heal your family. And like life is so much more harmonious. And I'm really learning that. And I've seen such a big difference in not only my relationship with my children, but my husband and I, and then his relationship with the kids. It comes full circle.
It really does. So first, I want to congratulate you for being on your healing journey because I know how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
And the first step, well, in my framework is honesty, that honesty
Mm-hmm.
part of that, because we have to truly be honest with ourselves and like, where is this coming from? Where did these thoughts come from? Why do I feel this way? And do some deep diving into that, which is not always fun. It's
No.
hard. Like once you really start getting into it, you're like, ooh, childhood. I have walls there for a reason. I got to tear
Mm-hmm.
those down for real. Yeah, you do, because we have to really find out what is the root cause of those negative thoughts. Where does it come from? Okay, it comes because you never felt worthy. Why? Because your father or mother may have said some negative things that stuck to you because you loved them so much. And yet they said, like there's so much that goes into that process. But what I will say is to my listeners out there is that it never goes away. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't deal with your past traumas, whether it's childhood related or not, whatever the case may be, it reveal itself in other ways. It's always there. And so we have to, at some point in our lives, do the work. We have to do the work on ourselves in order to be better for everyone else. And if we don't work on ourselves and put our mental health first, then we're just treading water and
Yeah.
carrying a lot of weight on ourselves that we could avoid. So we're never really truly healed. And I always say that too. Like we're not like there's
Right.
no damn thing that says I'm healed and I'm never no, we're healing. We're always healing. It's continuous. But what we're doing is giving ourselves the tools that we need in order to deal with those things now. And we're being
Right.
more self-aware and we're watching how we communicate and we're really allowing ourselves to feel something and all of those things and changing our mindset because what we put out there, it will come back to us. And
Yeah.
so the healing journey, yes, it plays a major part on who we are. And it definitely feels good when you start seeing the light. And I call it your light era. Like when you get in
Yeah.
your light era and you start
Yes.
feeling good and now you want to help other people do the same thing, we get into that self-actualization part of it. You're like, okay, I got this. You see a change in your kids because they're always watching. You see a change in your spouse because now you're communicating a little bit differently. Now it's not you should know. It's like, let me tell you why I'm angry. Let me tell you why. Like, let me tell you that I need a break and this is why I need a break. And oh, by the way, I'm leaving. I'm not asking for permission. I'm going to get my break. So it's like
Right.
communicating all of those things. It really does play a big role in the journey.
It does. And I think that we too often take our kids as being kids, like they won't understand, like they're not
Mhm.
mature enough, or they won't, but they understand I'm angry or I'm frustrated and I need a break and I need this. And the more you communicate with them, the more they can communicate back with you.
Mhm.
And I had this like aha moment a few months ago where my son, I'll never forget it. He was in getting into the shower, and showers are, he's 9, but they've always been an issue,
Mhm.
baths and whatever. So I like yelled at him to get in the shower. I was like, I don't understand why everything with bathing is so hard for you. And he just looked at me with crocodile tears coming streaming down his face. And he's like, my least favorite part of my day is coming home because everybody here is so, it's so tense. You're always saying you're tired. You're always saying that you're stressed out. Daddy is stressed out. And then Nora's yelling and I'm yelling and Emma yells. And I just, it broke me. Like
Mhm.
it broke me. I remember getting him in his shower, putting him to bed, telling him how much I loved him and I'm sorry he feels that way, and apologizing to him in an honest and open way. And he just was like, Mommy, I'm always going to love you. But it's too much for me. I mean, I'll march my butt right downstairs. And I told my husband, I said, I can't work like this anymore. I can't work in this high stress, life and the overwhelm that I'm feeling. I have to change. It has to change.
Mhm.
And so, luckily I was able to leave my job and focus more at home and start healing myself the way I truly needed to. And I've seen such a difference.
Mhm.
And I was so proud of him for being able to communicate to me exactly how he was feeling in that moment. And I think for so long I took that for not for granted, but just like I didn't think he'd be able to do that.
Mhm.
And they're tiny little humans and they mirror what they see. And, I started talking to them more and more about my feelings and how I'm feeling overwhelmed. And he just reciprocated back when he felt really like in a really bad place for him. And as a mom, that killed me.
Yeah, I understand. And wow, it's when it comes from, it can come from other people, but when it comes from your kids, it's like a, let me get my life together type of
Yeah.
thing. Because the same, something similar to me, my son was 5. And that's when me and my husband were going through a really, really rocky like patch. Like it's
Uh-huh.
like when you hit that 7-year mark, everything just goes
I know.
bad. It's like, I don't know what it is
Yeah.
about the year 7, like lucky 7, not when it's marriage. And I was just so hurt. I was so betrayed. And I was still trying to have my, I call it the mom face, where we're just still trying to be like strong for the babies, and
Yeah.
continually do
Hmm.
things normal. And I remember my son, that was the game changer for me, was when my son came up to me and he said, Mommy, why do you always look so sad? And he's like, who hurt you? And then he's like, oh, I'll go beat them up. And I'm
Oh.
like, whoa, because in my eyes, I thought that I was like continuing on, like not trying to show them the sad part, not trying to show them that I'm hurt and still moving on, moving on. And this little guy's like, no, mommy looks sad.
Yeah.
That was when I was like, okay. So if he's watching my daughter, she's only 1 right now, but she's
Mhm.
watching too. And I don't want anything to, what I'm going through to be left on them. So let me get my butt into some therapy, because
Yeah.
clearly they are seeing more than, again, you just think they're kids. They're not. Oh no, they're
Yeah.
seeing more than you think that they are. So yeah, I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And, I thought I was doing all the right things. I was working, I had a good job, and I was, able to provide all of the nice things that they wanted, like their sports and, their clothes and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, that's not what matters. What matters is that they're growing up to be good, kind human beings. That's all I care about at the end of the day is that they're good and they see the good in people and they're helpful. But here I am like frustrated and tired and yelling and I'm so overwhelmed with everything. I'm so overwhelmed that I couldn't as much as I like as much healing as I was doing at the time, it was still like being masked by like my overwhelm.
Mhm.
And I just felt like I couldn't breathe. I had to leave that situation.
I completely understand that. But here you are now.
Yes,
You are now.
here I am. And I want people to never feel alone and to never feel judged. I want everybody to feel supported and just, I don't care what crazy thoughts have gone through your head. They've probably gone through mine or they've gone through somebody else's.
Mhm.
And that doesn't make you a bad person at
Yeah.
all.
Yep, absolutely. And that's one of the things too, like when I started putting my therapy sessions on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, this is what I learned today. I wanted the same thing. I didn't want anyone to feel alone because even though we know that, like me and you can have this conversation right now and say, I know we're not the only ones, but when you're going through, I don't know what happens in the mind. It's like you're the only one in the whole
Yeah.
world that's going through this at this given moment, and no one knows what you feel like. And it's like you want to isolate yourself and you want to disconnect from everybody that you know because, well, for me, it was a shame and guilt, all the things, right? Um,
Yeah.
like you're the strong one of all your friends. So how are you going through this right now? Or how are you feeling like this? And what's happening? And so it's like it's this crazy thing. And I the same thing. I'm like, no, I don't want any woman to feel how I feel. This is what I'm going through. This is what it looks like. This is this. And then it's like, and then the women are like, I know what you're saying. I'm like, okay, yeah. Okay, this is great. This is what I want
Yeah.
to do because
Yeah.
we can't survive, I say, without the connection. We have to find
Right.
community, and there's community in healing and just having other people that can hear your story and understand what you're going through and relate to that and see how you've come through that and kind of ask you, well, how did you get through that? What is
Mhm.
that? So I think that what you're doing, even what I'm doing, is sharing our stories and showing the realness of it. It really makes a difference. And like I always say, like I know I didn't go through all the things and continuously go through these things to not share my journey with other people so they know
Right.
that, hey, this is life.
Right. And I think the more honest you are, anybody is, like the better, the more healing you have and the more you're going to reach someone because I can, make a post like my post the other day. Oh my gosh, this is what I do when I'm feeling really stressed out or I need a break. And then literally an hour later, I'm yelling at my kids. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be real about that. And I'm going to say, like, nobody's looking for perfection. There's no such thing as a perfect person. But
Mhm.
all you can do is just try your best. And when you recognize that you need support or you need help or something needs to change, you have to be 100% nitty gritty, raw, and honest with yourself. And I think that more honesty I can put out there and sometimes the humor in it, and then the real, raw truth of it is it's only going to benefit somebody. If I help one person, then I feel like I've accomplished my mission.
Yeah, that's what I always say. If you can inspire one person with your story,
Hmm. Yeah.
doing it. We've done it. Like we have to keep that honesty part. There's so much crap on social media that
Right.
can trick you. So it's important to know that those are just pretty squares and that everybody, I don't care who it is, I don't care how famous they are, I don't care how many followers, blah, blah, blah. Everybody is going through something.
Right.
Just talk about it. Everybody is going through something. So you're not alone. Everyone's been there or going there or may get there somewhere in their journey. And so it's important to know that we are human. We all have feelings and life is crazy.
Right. And that's the thing. Like you can go on social media all you want and see these beautiful pictures and see these wonderful, like, oh my gosh, my family's so wonderful. We're vacationing. And but that's like a split snapshot that they just happen to get lucky and get a really good picture, or, it's not real life. And I think that that was a part of my dark times is I would log on to Instagram and I would see all these beautiful pictures and moms doing all of these wonderful things with their kids and baking cookies and going shopping and all of these things. And I'm like, wow, I am really terrible. But that's not it. I can post all these great pictures all day long and you would think I have a perfect life, but that's not real.
Mhm.
And I think that plays, social media does play a big part of why women, all I can speak for is a woman, I can't speak for men, but why they feel so inadequate all the time,
Mhm.
and it's not real life.
Yeah. And there's always someone telling you how to parent. I see a lot of like, parent like this. I'm like, listen,
Yeah.
parent the way that works for your household.
Right.
Not
Just
everything works for everybody. So, I
right.
mean, do you long as everyone's safe, we're safe and safe environment for our babies, do what
Right.
works for you. And as a
Hmm.
mom, the way I parent my kids may not work for the way you parent your kid. Like we're
Right.
all different. My kids are they're good kids. They're very open. I've taught them how to communicate how they feel, even if they're mad. Like, okay, you can be mad, but I'm gonna need you to go do what I told you to do. You can be mad though all day,
Right.
please.
Right.
Have your feelings, enjoy.
Yep.
But
Feel those feelings.
yeah, I have those feelings, but this is what I need to do.
Right.
Our values, I've instilled that into them. Education is important and all the things. So it's like, parent in a way that works for your household. Please don't try to duplicate what you see because you don't see everything. It's literally what you're seeing in a snap of a moment, but do what's going to work for you and your family.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you summed it up perfectly because I can't add on to that.
So you have an up and coming podcast called Mind Your Mama. Tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about that. Like, what is the show going to be about? What are you hoping to accomplish?
So it is all things motherhood, the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, the things that contribute to your overwhelm. So far, I've interviewed people that are sleep coaches, and I've interviewed a mom whose daughter did self-harm and how she found that her overwhelm in her life and everything, she was just functioning so high up here that she wasn't able to function like on the basic level with her child and wasn't able to see that her daughter was struggling mentally until she started self-harming.
Mm.
So there I'm interviewing women all across all gamuts where I want to hear why you felt you needed to change, what your darkest moment was, why you changed, and how it's going. I feel that again, I just want to highlight everybody's story because everybody has something to contribute. And if it one person listening says, "Oh my gosh, like that tip for sleep training was so great." And I'm overwhelmed because I'm not getting any sleep and I'm going to try this, then I feel successful. So it is, mind your mama. I wanted to encompass all things motherhood, but really at the end of the day, women finding their light and realizing like you are an incredible person. You
Mhm.
just think that you've lost it in this chaos of motherhood, but you haven't. So that'll be coming out in January 2025. So I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. I cannot wait to listen to it. I know it's going to be wonderful. And it's what we need. We need more real podcasts out there where we can connect and again show that human side of being a mom, of being a woman,
Mhm.
and connect. We need that connection. Like I said before, it's so important. So I'm excited for this podcast.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm so excited. I have always wanted to be on the radio as a little kid. I would call in and get my 10 seconds of fame and think I was the coolest. And now, I feel it is the perfect time. I feel that this is, God is calling me to do this and I need to share my triumphs, but my pretty low parenting moments. And so people don't feel alone.
Yep. You know when it's time. Like we all
Mhm.
go through our journeys. And then when we get to the point to where it's like, okay, I think it's time for me to share this with other people, you just know. And so I'm happy that you're listening to your voice that's telling you, like, hey, okay, it's time to do the podcast. It's time to share your story. It's time to allow a platform for other people to get on to share their stories because there's not a lot of platforms that do that as well. I welcome everyone long as it aligns. Like, I
Right.
want to hear how much money you made last year. I want to know
Now,
what your story. So long as it aligns, I'm pretty open to everyone. Come on, please, share your story. So thank you for listening to your voice and knowing how awesome and worthy you are.
oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you for having me on. And thank you for your daily inspiration. You truly do inspire me to be a better person, a better mom. And I think you are just straight fire, I guess. Like you're just
Thank you.
awesome. I love everything that you do. When you make a post, I'm like, oh my gosh, is she like reading into my mind?
I'll just tell you, 9 times out of 10 is because I'm going through too, like, let me tell
Yeah.
you real quick. So a lot of it is it's for who's looking at it, and most of it is for me as well. Just reminding myself like to keep going, and keep pushing, and I have big goals for 2025. I'm like looking at my list, like, why I do this? But I'm about to do it. We're gonna do it,
You're doing it.
So it's like,
Mm-mm.
can't turn back now. We gotta go.
Yeah, and I don't doubt for 1 second that you're not going to accomplish your goals. Yeah, I don't see that not happening. So,
Thank you so much. Can you let the listeners know where they can find you?
so I am on Instagram at Mind Your Mama, mind and then underscore your and then underscore mama. And then I also have a Facebook page. It's just Lauren Trout on Facebook, and it's all about my podcast and just general mom advice, from recipes that are easy that you can throw together to I'm asking for suggestions for my podcast and if anybody wants to come on. And so that's pretty much it right now.
Yay. I will have everything linked in the show notes so they can come and be a guest on your podcast. And I need that link for them easy recipes because I'm all about quick, quick
Quick.
efficient. I don't have time. Let's go.
I couldn't love my crock pot more. Just dump and go.
It's good to go. So I need those quick meals. All right, you guys. Well, if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell and subscribe. And if you're listening to wherever you stream your podcast, make sure you leave a review. All right, you guys, until next time.